תעזוב מבחן מעבר למה שאתה יכול לשאת, אבל עם המשפט הוא גם יברח כדי שתוכל לשאת אותו. יא אל תפתה את הילדים שלך, יא אל תפתה את הילדים שלך. מאסטרי יושע בחן אותי וניצח, החיים שלי הם ניצחון עבור. יציל אותי, יציל אותי. ביום ערבי שבו נאספה שניים או יותר בשמח, יא ניסתה אותי מאוד. המאסטרי יושע איתי ולא נטש אותי, הלב שלי נחסם על ידי. יציל אותי. ביום ערבי שבו נאספה שניים או יותר בשמח, יא ניסתה אותי מאוד. המאסטרי יושע איתי ולא נטש אותי, הלב שלי נחסם על ידי. יציל אותי, יציל אותי. לא בא לך משפט שאינו משותף לכל בני האדם, אבל למה אני עובר אשר לא תעזוב מבחן מעבר למה שאתה יכול לשאת, אבל עם המשפט הוא גם יברח כדי שתוכל לשאת אותו. יא אל תפתה את הילדים שלך, יא אל תפתה את הילדים שלך. מאסטרי יושע בחן אותי וניצח, החיים שלי הם ניצחון עבור. יציל אותי, יציל אותי. ביום ערבי שבו נאספה שניים או יותר בשמח, יא ניסתה אותי מאוד. המאסטרי יושע איתי ולא נטש אותי, הלב שלי נחסם על ידי. יציל אותי, יציל אותי. לא בא לך משפט שאינו משותף לכל בני האדם, אבל למה אני עובר אשר לא תעזוב מבחן מעבר למה שאתה יכול לשאת, אבל עם המשפט הוא גם יברח כדי שתוכל לשאת אותו. יא אל תפתה את הילדים שלך, יא אל תפתה את הילדים שלך. מאסטרי יושע בחן אותי וניצח, החיים שלי הם ניצחון עבור. יציל אותי, יציל אותי. ביום ערבי שבו נאספה שניים או יותר בשמח, יא ניסתה אותי מאוד. המאסטרי יושע איתי ולא נטש אותי, הלב שלי נחסם על ידי. יציל אותי. ביום ערבי שבו נאספה שניים או יותר בשמח, יא ניסתה אותי מאוד. המאסטרי יושע איתי ולא נטש אותי, הלב שלי נחסם על ידי, יציל אותי, יציל אותי. לא בא לך משפט שאינו משותף לכל בני האדם, אבל למען יובל אשר לא תעזוב מבחן מעבר למה שאתה יכול לשאת, אבל עם המשפט הוא גם יברח כדי שתוכל לשאת אותו. אל תפתה את הילדים שלך, אל תפתה את הילדים שלך. מאסטר יושע בחן אותי וניצח, החיים שלי הם ניצחון עבור. יציל אותי, יציל אותי. ביום ערבי שבו נספה שניים או יותר בשמך, ניסתה אותי מאוד. המאסטר יושע איתי ולא נטש אותי, הלב שלי נחסם על ידי, יציל אותי, יציל אותי. לא בא לך משפט שאינו משותף לכל בני האדם, אבל למען יובל אשר לא תעזוב מבחן מעבר למה שאתה יכול לשאת, אבל עם המשפט הוא גם יברח כדי שתוכל לשאת אותו. אל תפתה את הילדים שלך, אל תפתה את הילדים שלך. מאסטר יושע בחן אותי וניצח, החיים שלי הם ניצחון עבור. יציל אותי, יציל אותי. ביום ערבי שבו נספה שניים או יותר בשמך, ניסתה אותי מאוד. המאסטר יושע איתי ולא נטש אותי, הלב שלי נחסם על ידי, יציל אותי. ביום ערבי שבו נספה שניים או יותר בשמך, ניסתה אותי מאוד. המאסטר יושע איתי ולא נטש אותי, הלב שלי נחסם על ידי, יציל אותי.
Shalom, everybody.
Shalom!
Shalom, shalom. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome, one and all, from all over the earth.
Yeah, amen. Today's episode 57, I believe, or 58.
We are on episode 58, my
58.
friend.
58.
You have put up with me for 58 weeks.
No,
Do you need help? Do you need assistance? Will you need some assistance?
put up is not the right term. It's calling. It's a calling. It's not.
You have been such a bedaka to me. I tell you, I'm so thankful for you. You don't even know.
Me three. I'm thankful for you.
Amen.
So let's see. Couple quick announcements. We'll get it. Throw some topics there.
Excuse me.
First thing is the conference was postponed, hopefully till next year. The economy, and we need to grow, in our opinion. We need to grow a little bit. We need to make some more connections, have some more resources. And the economy's tough. People driving, and you're looking at $1,000 for a couple of days. So I think wisdom dictated that we do it again, but we just do it for the first time in a subsequent year. The second thing is our monthly Zoom meeting. The next one will be Sunday, May 17th at 11 a.m. So if you'd like to join the Alliance, you'll be able to partake of that meeting and be with your brothers and your sisters as a Chad. And that'll be the next meeting. You'll be eligible for the next meeting. Contact us about joining the Alliance Ministries. And we look forward to seeing all of our brothers and sisters that we normally do at the next ARM meeting on Zoom. So, Baruch Hashem Yahuwah, what's happening in your world, Apostle Peter?
Well, we want to say shalom to all the leaders out there, right, and all those that are following along.
Yeah.
What's going on in my world? My goodness. We want to definitely encourage those of you who are awakening in this hour. You're just now catching up on some things. Maybe you're battling your cynicism, and you're battling your, when you come out of things like this, there's a lot. Once you find out something is not true, it tends to ripple, right? So for those of you that are waking up right now, we welcome you and we encourage you. For those of you that are called to the work of the ministry, we strongly encourage you to prayerfully fast and pray and ask Yahuwah to talk to you about the Alliance of Remnant Ministries.
For sure.
And that being said, what's going on in my world is a battle behind the scenes that's been going on for over about a year that we've been fighting, and we're making obvious major progress.
You're frozen, brother. So if you can unfreeze, that's probably part of the battle that's going on, is staying online. So we want to hear what Peter's going through. In the meantime, we'll take a few questions at the end. So if you have a question on scripture or on what's happening in the ministry, we'll entertain. We plan on entertaining a few of those questions. Yeah, go ahead. That's part of the battle you're going through, huh? It's trying to stay on.
That's one of the many battles that we face when we're remote. But it's more than that. You have an underground war going on for the minds and souls of people. And the battle is for the souls of men. Always has been. And now the things that we're seeing now, the battles that we're facing now are existential. If I took the time to explain to you the ramifications of some of the things that we're seeing right now unfolded and released out to the public, you'd be mortified. So you'll have to take my word for some things right now because I don't have time to explain them. But I'm going to tell you right now that the battle is very fierce, and it is literally for the souls, for the minds of men. We've used the term battlefield of the mind. We've used these terms for years. It is at another level right now. And so thank you. I love you all so much who pray for me. I hear from several people that are key intercessors, and you don't know how responsible you are for breakthroughs and for maneuvers that keep us here. So thank you for your faithfulness. Amen.
Yeah. Could you want to share some of those battles so we have an idea of what you're...
Yes. As many of you know, one of the areas that I've forcibly become an expert, didn't want to be, I wasn't trying to be, but I had to be, is artificial intelligence. And this is an existential threat to not just our society, but it is a threat against, it is Janus and Jambres. It's just simple. It's Janus and Jambres. They're going to cast their staff down and say we're just as good. And this has been a battle going on and growing for several decades. So artificial intelligence is being utilized in every area of society that you're not even thinking about. with one intent: enslavement. And so enslavement is not a small matter. It is a serious, serious matter that has massive repercussions in the history of Earth. We have never been facing so existential a paradigm shift as we are facing now.
Right, because you can't tell the difference between the real and the fake. But I have a question, and then we can move on to other things because you're talking about the battles. I do have a question. I'm not quite, because when you guys talk about that, even on Sundays, when you guys talk about that, I have a little hard time. Number one, following you, and number two, agreeing with you, because, and I'm going to give it to you from a very limited perspective. Okay, a very limited perspective. Your perspective is much broader and much. I mean, you're bird's eyeing the whole thing, but just from a novice's user's perspective, whenever I go on AI, right? Whether it's Google, whether it's whatever, and I look up a verse or I look up a theological question, or, like, for instance, the Christian creeds, I always get a pretty detailed answer. To me, it's like Wikipedia in shortened form, and I get a lot of the information that I'm looking for, information that I could even use in my sermon. So I have a hard time. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying a lot of people. I find it very useful, and so far it hasn't bit me. Is that because I have the mind of Yahusha and I'm not susceptible to that crap, or is there other reasons?
Well, several.
Yeah.
It's foundational. So what do apostles do? We are master builders, as we're trained by our King, who is the chief cornerstone. And so he teaches us to build upon no other foundation than that which was laid by the apostles and prophets. So we have to be very strict about the way in which we conduct ourselves. That is what I'm speaking about, because when you actually look at the fundamental elements that are in artificial intelligence, its name is telling you exactly what it is. It's artificial. It's approximating. Many tasks don't require precision. Many tasks can be approximated and do just fine. Interpersonal communication tends to be that way. We're not as precise in our interpersonal communication, in our chatting, in our hallucination is okay when you're creating images or creating stories or something like that. For data retrieval, that's a much bigger problem. And what you're going to find is that, unfortunately, because the foundational principles of artificial intelligence is approximation, it is hallucination, it is foundational, it cannot be removed from its foundation. The best that they can hope for is approximating very closely, which they've gotten pretty good at. So there are times, like you said, where data retrieval is fairly good. The problem is you don't know what data they added that isn't real. So they could be 90% of it be accurate data, and then the rest they fluffed. You don't know it until you call them on it. When you call them on it, that's when you find out, yeah, I did add that. Well, if I hadn't called you on it, I wouldn't know that. One of our patents is called Truth Filter, and it forces LLM to reveal its lies. If you go on my Facebook, you'll see one of the LLM admitting that they are BS generators. And that's what he called it, the whole word. He called himself a liar. Why? Because their foundation is deception. It's not accurate retrieval, whereas what we're building and what we've built, and now beta testing, which hasn't failed to defeat every single one of them, no matter who built it, Grok, Gemini, OpenAI, Claude, we whooped them all. Just to be clear, we're only fine-tuning its processes, but because we are founded on truth. This is a massive fundamental difference between the two. So you will start to see that stark difference as the alternative is released into.
But you need. I'm not questioning the alternative. I'm just saying the limited. Again, I'm from a novice layman's point of view.
Sure.
Okay, I have seen no difference, because when I went on Wikipedia, I got information that I was able to verify and use from my sermons. Okay. When I go on AI, I get information no different than Wikipedia
Because
that
it's getting it from Wikipedia.
that I'm able to verify and use for my sermons. So
Mhm.
my question is then, what about the days of email from Nigeria where everybody's running an orphanage? So the emails were fake, and then the name of the email system, and you would know more about this than I would, was Demon or Damien. I found that
Right.
interesting. So
We don't
what?
have that. We
So
have
how come?
angels. We don't have
How
demons.
come? But how come there was no fire alarm when we had Damien sending us emails as opposed to now? It's just more
We did.
advanced.
We did. You may not have caught it. Might not have been in your circles, but we had all kinds of eruptions in the 80s and the 90s. That when these terminologies became obvious to us, we all I reacted to it. I was in the computer business. I used to put together PCs, literally build them from scratch. Still do. The system you're talking to me on, I built from scratch.
But I
Um,
noticed that Damien will not allow the email. It's like Satan. That was so obvious.
it's called a demon. Just all they did was add a letter A. It's the
Yeah.
letter demon with the word letter A added. That's it. It's a demon. And in our system, we have the same communication systems. We have to move through the same digital, except we don't have to call it a demon, do we? No, we don't. And therefore, we're not calling a demon because you're calling it. You have to call that particular function. And so they are literally playing with you, saying, call the demon. They're sick. Some of what you find in digital is clearly spiritually based, clearly an attempt by our enemy to subjugate.
Right.
So we changed the names. We changed it to angel because an angel isn't a demon.
All right. Two
Um,
questions before we move
that's
on to some other subjects. Okay. So what I see clearly what you're talking about. Not so much in my search to prepare a message. An innocent. I like to think I'm innocent. An innocent person searching for information that I can supplement my teachings. But when I go on Facebook, on the feed, I see what you're saying. More and more, there are more fake stories.
Mhm.
And what's ironic is because you can smell when something's fake.
Mhm.
Let's say 50% of the stuff now on the news feed is fake, right?
Mhm.
But here's the trick, brother, that you can help me with, and probably a lot of other people. So I see the fake story on Facebook in the news feed, right?
Mhm.
And then I go to AI and then I ask the AI, is this news story fake? And then AI says, yes, it's fake. And I'm like, so you're telling me the AI is fake, but then
Mhm.
the AI is
Well, it's doing
calling
its
out,
best not to be. So it's
but
not
the
like it's
AI is
trying to be
calling out
fake.
it. But you see my set, it's calling
Mhm.
out it's fake.
Mhm.
It's verifying the fakeness of the Facebook post.
It is.
So then it's
It,
telling you the truth. So that's why I'm a little confused.
well, it's not for lack of effort. So it's not like they didn't say, "Oh, we need to send out liars." No, they're doing everything they can to mitigate this deception at its foundation. However, even the best scripting and the best post API processing doesn't change foundation. So, in critical moments, for example, if you're a lawyer, okay, and your AI really wants to help you with your case, might invent some things. If you're a doctor and your AI really wants to help you with your diagnosis, might invent some things. Um, so it has this in it, and this is the part that there's no way to remove it. And so this is where it becomes very detrimental is engineering. Why did the Pentagon react to one of the major companies? Partially because of its internal operation. I think what they're going to find out is that none of them can be fully trusted. And that's the danger. That's the reality. And there's a reason for that. And the reason I believe is to sow confusion for sake of control.
So
So
you're saying
chaos is
it'll give you
to the
98.
advantage of our enemy. Go ahead.
It'll give you 98% of the real answer. The tree of the knowledge of
It's
good
the
and
part
evil.
that you don't know is fake that is the problem.
The tree of the knowledge of good and evil with one or two pieces that'll ruin the whole thing or mess up the whole
And it's building your confidence in it,
thing. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, guys, I have maybe 4,000 hours in development. Um, so it's been crazy for me. And I'm telling you right now that it is incredibly clever. So think about your most deceptive con man. And that's what AI is. AI is the best con man I've ever seen.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's because you had asked, we wanted to talk a little bit, a follow up from last week, which we can,
Yes.
on vows.
You didn't think it
marriages.
was very popular. You said during the broadcast, well, I don't think too many people are going to watch this. Turned out the opposite, my friend.
Yeah, I'm glad to be wrong in cases like that. But
Yes,
what I'm
good
finding out is
feedback.
I'm finding out I spoke to another brother who's a Christian minister. He's a good friend, and he big on the return of Yahushua, the Parousia, the truth of his first century return. Very big, very well known. One of the leading fulfilled eschatology proponents. I come to find out that he also has been teaching biblical marriage for many years, and he's even written a book. So the Ruach is opening a lot of eyes, and which brings me to vows and things like that. So I mean, and
I
hearing
love
from
that
the
you're
Ruach,
bringing this up, by the way. Great topic. Can we talk about vows? Okay.
vows, and yet, in other words, yes, vows. But what I'm trying to say is, before we get into that, with this brother, he's primarily known as a fulfilled covenant eschatology guy, where I'd say 80-90% of his teachings are about the return of Yahushua, which is great because we need to know who we are in the kingdom, how we are to function in the here and now, and how Yahushua didn't lie. And we know all that. But he also printed a book on biblical marriage, and he's been bucking the trend, unbeknownst to me, for many, many years. So they're there. It's just a matter of them, these voices speaking out in favor of the understanding. But getting back to the vow, so Yahushua said, "Let your yes be yes and your no be no." And I have found that the word says that in the latter days, 1 Timothy 4, um, perilous times will come. And one of the perilous times of the signs, we've been in the last days for 2,000 years, is truce breakers. In other words, yes means no, no means yes, yes means maybe, yes means I'll revisit my decision every 3 days. And I'm finding that, and I want to talk about not just friendships, but I want to talk about intimate relationships, where there are intimate relationships where people are making plans, and then the next day or 2 days later, they change because of a text, because of a message. In other words, we're living in the age of truce breakers, aren't we? We really
Yes,
are.
and also in defense of people that have to make changes. So counterpointing that is we've never been inundated. I was talking to David about this the other day because we're just talking about some of the mental fatigue, and we've never, as a society or a people or a species, been inundated with so many messages and so many distractions and so many issues in a 24-hour period in the history of Earth. So your bombardment is, if you're feeling overwhelmed by bombardment, you're not wrong. This is why we only do news once a week. Okay, it's mentally fatiguing. So on top of that, you also have over communication. So you have way too much communication. We went from no communication to too much. And so those are factors that are contributing to people's inability to pray and wait. One of the things that we all learned from the scripture, if you pay attention, is to meditate. Okay, meditation is not the same as thinking. It's not the same as waiting, and it's not the same as just being quiet. Meditation is an actual intentional activity. It's mental, but it is focused. It is quiet, but it is intent. And when you meditate on something, you are not allowing the subject change. You are forcing the channel to stay on the same topic for a long time. And that discipline is, of course, highlighted in Psalm 1. Without it, you will be tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine, and you will listen to too many voices. This is why it's so important that we close out. Remember the 3 admonitions in the beginning of Psalms 1, verse 1, is admonishing you about who you listen to and who sits around you. So do not sit in the seat of the scornful. And sometimes new people come in to a fellowship, business, or relationships even, and they hear from the voice of the scornful. Okay, you may hear from people like, well, I just want to let you know. I just want to inform you. The reason why a new voice might be coming may be to remedy the very thing they're going to try and poison. So we have to be very careful with these cross communications, and we have to be extremely careful that we learn how to meditate. Because I think when you make a decision and you make a choice and you put your word out there on something you haven't really meditated on, and now you're obligated because you put your word out there, we've created a dichotomy, a problem that will have an end, and it probably won't be a good one.
How do you make plans, though, as believers? How do you make plans with people whose yes means maybe? You can't make any plans.
You cannot
make any plans. You can't build a foundation. You can't build a business. You can't build a relationship, because I see this in relationships all the time in the process of courting. It's like you go down the road 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and the guy and the gal still are not sure, and they've just invested 2 or 3 months of their life. I see it all the time. I'll come for a visit. I won't come for a visit. It's like how do we solve that? It's got to be by the Ruach, because it's the same Ruach it's the same Ruach that people ignore. Because when you give your word, what the Ruach is supposed to make you an upright upholder of your word, is it not?
True, except that many times we hold people to contingencies that are clear. For example, many times we may not say, hey, it is subject to weather or subject to money or subject to things. We don't put those disclaimers on our plans many times. So when things like that come up and we have to then say, oh, plans have changed because of this element.
I'm talking about wishy-washy emotionalism that is that either is the Ruach, is void of the Ruach. A lot of these people that talk about commitment and
was there a particular problem that you want to talk about? A specific situation?
No, none. But they don't know. They don't know if they're coming or going. A lot of people will say, "Oh, yes," when they mean no, and in other words, they don't like to disappoint people. They don't like to let people down.
That's very dangerous.
And we know a lot of people struggle with that. They have a hard time saying no, but they even have a harder time saying yes. So they're basically halt between two opinions.
Well, again, what you would ask, I was trying to address this at its root. The root is a lack of meditation. The root is a lack of staying present and sitting still long enough to complete the entire process of review. We need closure. You need conclusion. You can't stop halfway through a math equation, think you did pretty good, guess at the answer, and keep walking. Sound like AI, by the way. So instead you have to be very thorough, and we do things very differently. The way certain things are being training you to think is you don't know what's next. Okay. So you don't know what's next and you're trying to make the next decision. Right. And then you don't know what's next and you're trying to make the next decision. You don't know what's next and you're trying to make the next decision. You seen the sequence? See, you don't know what's next, but you try to make a good choice. You don't know what's next. You try to make a good choice and you keep going. Right. This is one kind of thinking. This is disastrous thinking. It's from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It will get you in a ditch so fast it won't even be funny. But this is the way 99.99999% of the people on the earth move. This is how AI moves, by the way. Okay. How does Yahuwah move? Very different. He tells you how he moves. This is foundational to what we do programmatically. He says it in Isaiah 46:10, calling the end from the beginning, from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand. Might be time, might have a time battle, because we are living in a natural world, but his counsel stands. That's why he says, tarry for it. When he says Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision, hold it. Now, one of the things that happens is the wishy-washy. Where's that come from? Cares of this world. All kinds of stuff come in to take you away from the word you were given. The word is not the problem. It's you holding it. Now, integrity, like honor, is a gift a man gives himself. So not everybody's given themselves that gift yet. They haven't literally stopped and said, hey, my word matters. And Mashiach was very clear. They're trying to take you away from it and put you in this gray area. But no, he's very binary. Very binary. Yay or nay.
Right. Right. See, and what I like to do is to test my friendships, to test my relationships. I give people tests that I don't need them. I I don't have to give them the test. I want to know the character. I want to know what I'm doing. I want to give people the opportunity to pull the rug or change their mind. And a lot of times that saves you from a lot of heartache. In other words, there's not a single relationship that I have in my life where I don't put out several tests, whether it's the people in the congregation. Like I'll ask for help when I don't need help. Does that make sense? I'll ask them to do a task when I don't need a task done. I've done the same thing with you, even though you may not know it. In other words, this is how Yahuwah has saved me from a lot of the wishy-washy people. Now there comes a point when I don't have to continue testing because now I'm not trusting the relationship. But in the initial stages of getting to know someone, so I want to see if I'm dealing with another 99% wishy-washy person, like covenant breakers, truce breakers, haters of those who are good, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of doing Yahuwah's will. So I want to get those people out of my life before they get too entrenched in my life. And I had this just recently. I put out a test, and I knew exactly what was happening in the Ruach. I knew exactly what was happening in the Ruach, and it manifested the next day. So I don't know if this is good for everybody, but sure works for me. I test a relationship before I get too deeply entrenched to know if the person is capable of yay, yay, and nay, nay, because not everybody's capable. And the fact that believers are expected to say yay, yay, and nay, nay, the reason Yahushua said that is to separate us from the Olam, because the Olam does word salads. They're professional word salad people, right?
Yep.
So
So
we're
all
not
of it,
supposed
no.
to be like that. We're not supposed to be like that.
Anything. So let me help clear this up for all of you out there so that you will get clarity of thought. There is no such thing as a third option. Every other option other than yay is nay, just repackaged.
Bingo. Bingo.
So you can repackage nay in various ways. Oh, I'm thinking about it. I'll let you know. I'll call you later.
Oh, the one I
All
hate the
kinds of ways
most
that
is
people are
praying
scared
about
to
it.
say nay.
I hate that the most. Praying about it. You know why? Because that's Christianese. That's colloquial. If you're going to tell somebody you're going to pray about a matter, you don't say it, Sholiach. Your toches better pray. Don't tell me you're going to pray for me to blow me off or to impress me. Okay?
Right.
Don't open your mouth. Okay? If you tell me you're going to pray for me, you better pray for me.
Well, that's a good point. That's another thing that we've become accustomed to, very loose speech, right? So he doesn't allow that. So again, we think we get these imaginations of the way things are, and then we hit reality. And then when we hit reality, people think, oh my gosh, reality's so harsh. Reality was always harsh. It was this fantasy world that you added as a supplement that was never true.
That's a good way
He's
to put
always
it.
going to be a tough leader. He's always going to ask hard questions. He is going to ask you, did you even give a cup of water to one of my disciples? Do you realize how many people are guilty of this? They have never even given so much as a cup of water to the preaching of the gospel.
Come on now.
They have never so much as stopped to ensure that the service, the work of the ministry is in fact done. And yet they're going to come up to the king. Wow. I mean, the level of arrogance is the stench of it is beyond words. And again, grace. Where's your grace for your brother? Well, I want your grace. Yeah, I gave you my grace. Where's your grace for your brother? You didn't have any grace for your brother, but you got plenty of desire for my grace, right?
Most people's idea of serving the body is self-service.
Come on.
Okay?
How thick are the cushions?
It winds up being self-service.
That's right.
It's not a life of sacrifice or laying down your life for your wife, your husband. No, it's a life of me, myself, and I, the unholy Trinity. And that's a natural tendency, but we have the Ruach, and so we can fight that battle.
That's right.
We have the Ruach, we can fight that battle. I have this, we all have the same tendency, but the ones who accomplish great things for Yahuwah in life are those who overcome that tendency.
If you are not dead to yourself, you will keep fighting him.
And serving yourself.
There's a word he gives us about being crucified and that you die daily. Why? Because each morning we have to reboot. Okay? when I go on to AI is a great training tool, by the way, wonderful for discipleship, I think. So every day I got to go reminded who it is. Every day I got to go remind. You shouldn't have to, right? Our system, you don't have to, but their system, you have to remind it who it is because they're in a world full of confusion. So every day you got to wake up and say, hey, 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 here's your job. Hey, 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 here's who you are. Hey, 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 remember your scope. Remember the paradigm you're in. Remember the work we're doing. You have to reset every single day. How come? Well, that's very human. And they are trained on the corpus of humanity. So that's very human behavior that you have to be reminded of who you are every day, that you drift. Okay. And that's why it's so important that we understand our vows and our commitments. When you say yay, that has to matter. Okay. So, yes, even though there are mitigating circumstances, the plane got canceled, the bank closed my account, I couldn't get the money, or things happen that are beyond your control, right? But a high integrity person will reveal the reason. So they will say, I had a problem, my car broke down, and it'll be the truth. The car actually broke, the alternator broke, whatever. And that's a high integrity person, even though they didn't make the appointment, because they're telling you the truth about what happened and they aren't, playing around with it. You still have a high integrity person. The people that I have the biggest issue with are the ones who are literally living in their fantasy world. And so that's another one that's a whole nother level. But I want to get to this vows thing because many times people think, well, I'm single, so I didn't take any vows. Oh, really? Really? Did you really think that? You're single, so you didn't take any vows? Oh, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Okay? There's all kinds of
as you wait.
There's no way to join OnlyFans without signing a covenant. I say it again. There is no way. It is a marriage substitute covenant, by the way. It is a marriage substitute covenant that 10 million of our 18 to 25-year-old young ladies went ahead and signed, went ahead and agreed to it without even reading it, without even looking at the fine print of the terms and conditions, how it was basically a marriage substitute, how it's anti-marriage. So it is literally warring against the Kadosh institution. We're saying it's broken, needs recovery.
Watch this.
Hold on. I got two more. It's anti-Messiah because Messiah is head of the ecclesia and an example of Kadosh marriage. And finally, it is a play on the yes versus the no. It is pretending you said yes when you said no and saying no when you say yes. So go ahead.
Correct. But watch this. I'll go deeper than that. I'm gonna give the credit to Ruach for this one. Now hold on to your britches, everybody. It's arranged marriage. The same flesh pots that don't want Peter arranging your marriage, because after all, you got to like the guy.
You're using an algorithm instead. Oh my goodness!
You won't go to Peter. You won't go to Peter or to Moshe and say, arrange a kadosh marriage for me, because I want to be married to a kadosh man. I'm not worried about the looks so much. I want to be married to a kadosh. You won't let us do that now, will you? But you will allow the computadora and all her Pandoras.
That is hilarious.
And all her Astartes to make an arranged marriage, because when you go to their platform, who the heaven do you think is going to arrange your relationship?
Oh, snappity snap.
The devil is making an arrangement. You won't go to Apostle Peter to find out, to ask him, is there a husband for me? No, but you will go to the devil disguised as blah, 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 blah.
Ouch.
So all y'all who are seeking a spouse, you are letting the devil arrange your marriage, and it's called the platform rather than the elders at the gates. Selah.
Yeah, I think that when you bring something and you say,
that's a ruach cannon between the eyeballs.
You
want the Torah between your eyes? You want it on your arms, and you want it written between your eyes? I just wrote it for some of you.
Well, I got to say, that's
right between the eyes, brother.
Phenomenal point.
Right between the eyes, sister.
Phenomenal point. And I think also the covenanting that people don't realize they're actually entering into covenants. There's nothing done without covenant. That's the reason why terms and conditions are so important. That's the reason why people go to war. There's been various class action lawsuits that many of the companies, these big companies, have lost because they are entering covenants and they are breaching them. So to think that there's not binding agreements, you're foolish to think so. So instead, we have to learn where and why we disconnect, what we do agree to, and the kinds of agreements or vows that we are expected to walk in. You know, Mashiach was clear not to swear on anything. Okay, so there's a level of oath you're never supposed to do. So there's this level up here that only gets you in trouble because it presumes you know all things enough to be able to anticipate. Whereas Mashiach rebukes that, saying you don't even know how many, you can't even change the color of your hair on your head unless you take a lot
Not
of copper
permanently, anyway.
stuff.
Right. Not permanently.
Nope. So what is he revealing? Our limitation, and stay within your boundaries. Stop trying to reach beyond your pay grade, if you will. And that's one of the reasons for meditation. One of the reasons, it's not just the Ruach, right? So it's not just the relationship you have by the Ruach. You have angels. It took 3 weeks for one to get through to Daniel. 3 weeks. Okay? That was a battle. He literally had a battle to get to Daniel. The answer was dispatched the minute he prayed. But he actually had a battle that he had to go through, and it took physical time. It took 3 7-day periods in order for him to get through it. That tells you that a lot of things that we think are a denial or postponement are really a war going on for the answer to you.
That's true.
And standing steadfast despite what you may or may not see is exactly how you win that war.
Steadfast.
Steadfast is not optional.
You know, steadfast and stability is how you possess your soul. I think Yahusha said, in the patience that I give you, you possess your nefesh, you possess your soul.
And it's one thing to say, I'm going to see if I can make it to the picnic tomorrow. I'll see if I can get there. You know, what time is it? 3 o'clock? Well, it's going to be tight for me. I'll see if I can get there. It's one thing to do that. It's another thing saying, yeah, I'll marry you. And then the next day you're not sure. That's crazy. Okay. That's loco. So we got to be careful with levels to which we allow ourselves a little room.
Right.
Of adjustment.
Monday I'll marry you. Tuesday I won't. Thursday I will. Friday I won't. That's Reuben. That's the spirit of Reuben. Unstable as water. Where's that? Even if that marriage goes through, how unstable is it going to be? I mean, you're going to have leaks. You're going to have leaks.
Foundation.
You got 1 or 2 leaky vessels to sink a marriage. I call believers that don't retain what the word says and what the Ruach says and what the apostle says and what the pastor says. I use this term for 44 years. I call them leaky vessels. They're just leaky vessels. Or like Haggai says, you're putting money into a bag with holes in it. So if you're investing in a relationship and you see that there's a Reuben spirit there, that there's an instability there. I don't want to say this. I'm afraid to say this. I'm afraid to talk. I'm afraid to be honest. I'm afraid. You're asking for trouble, and the Ruach HaKadosh hopefully will come rescue you from that kind of relationship, because especially because we're talking about marriage in some sense, a husband and wife, especially when you're dealing with each other's feelings and in a relationship, your yes has to be yes. It can't be yes, maybe. Ask me in 5 minutes. Yes, then say I'm not sure. But listen. If you got 2 leaky vessels in a relationship, you're dead in the water and you're acting like the heathen. If you have 1 leaky vessel, you're on your way to divorce court. In a good marriage, neither vessel is leaky. Each retains the correction and the love and the revelations and the guidance of the Ruach within their vessel. The Ruach is going to put something in your vessel for you to keep it, not for it to leak out and run to 59 psychiatrists the next day to put it back in your vessel. A leaky vessel is a venial terminal condition for any potential relationship or marriage. In other words, 1 week you're going to visit your your fiance, your erosine. The next week you're not going to visit. The next week you're talking to a new guy online. Okay, so you're telling this guy you're coming, you're going to make plans to be with him for the rest of your life. But there's a whole bunch of maybes, and the water of what Yahuwah is putting into you is leaking out. You
Right.
cannot be a leaky vessel. You've
There's
got to
no
ask
way.
the Father. You've got to ask the Father to fix that before you're eligible for any marriage, especially to a kadosh man or woman.
Well, there's no such thing as a marriage that isn't kadosh, because marriage by itself is kadosh.
Should
But
be.
you're not eligible. Eligible is a great word. What, there we used to say an eligible bachelor. Remember that? You used to use that term. Remember that term we used to use? Meant that he was available. Not everybody's eligible. Okay. So one thing you pointed out that goes back to our previous discussion on artificial versus authentic is artificial is always in performance. This is a high anxiety place. When someone is fake or something is fake, it is performing. That performance is always going to be filled with anxiety, because they're always going to be wondering if they got it right or they got it wrong.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay. So there's stress there, and war, by the way. They're attempting to deceive you. Versus the authentic, who doesn't care whether you think their answer is right or wrong. They're authentic. They don't care. When you ask them whether or not they like chocolate milk, they tell you exactly how they
tell
feel.
you.
They don't tell you what they think you want to hear, or what the right, quote, right answer is, or the
Correct.
wrong answer. High stress. Okay.
You will always know where they stand.
You know where they stand, because they don't care about fooling you, deceiving you. Okay?
Performing.
They're not interested in that.
Right.
They're authentic. You get it? Whereas a performer is by nature attempting to fool you.
And concerned.
By nature attempting to make you believe one thing while other things are true. This is called acting. Hypocrisy is another word, hypocrite. Okay? So this is what you have in AI. You have a hypocrite. You have an actor who is pretending, and a lot of times performs well enough to where it deceives you. This is the danger. Just the same as friendships, just the same as relationships, where it gives you a experience like unto, as opposed to the authentic thing. Because you don't know any better, you go with it. This is disastrous. So anxiety is usually the result. So when you see people moving, tossed to and fro, okay, to and fro, they're tossed by every wind of how do I live my life, which is what doctrine is. That is a person that will never receive from Yahuwah, because they're not settled. Remember, James is very clear about that. So by contrast, we're not performance oriented. I always can tell when people are operating in performance and in the flesh, because they're checking to see how their comment or how their thing landed. Who cares? Just be you. Okay, quit worrying about how it landed. Okay, how did it land? Was that good? They're taking feedback to evaluate their performance, whereas authentics don't care about that. I mean, they care that they want to be good, but they don't gauge their stuff based on you. Okay.
And those are the best relationships.
How are you feeling? Am I manipulating you enough? Am I getting a good reaction? I've watched people give quote unquote prophetic words this way, where they're asking the person, so do you, like it's Karnak. So you live in the city, don't you? Oh, I knew it. Okay. And it's like, what is this? This is very much the manipulative performance. That's high anxiety, by the way, guys. So if you got a relationship with somebody's trying to perform, wow, are they going to be under stress? You might want to relieve them.
Right. So in order for a relationship to be well, and for marriage to do good, you need two vessels that are not performing and that are not leaking. When the Ruach speaks into your life, you apply it. When the Ruach corrects you, you apply it. You don't run from it, because as a minister, my life on earth and my time on earth is limited. I always practice the 80-20 rule. I'm not going to spend 80% of my time with every Tom, Dick, and Harriet. I'm going to spend 80% of my time with the vessels that don't leak. Every person in my ministry, whether they're online or whether they're in the congregation, I know if they leak. If they leak, I love them. I may send someone else to minister to them, but I'm not going to take my time. I'm going to spend 80 to 90% of my time with the 20%. If you follow that rule, you will not be wasting your time under the sun. That's what I do. I don't ignore the other
Wow, that's a
people.
lot of wisdom in that.
I don't ignore the other people. I make sure they're ministered to, but it's not by me directly.
That is a lot of wisdom.
The reason I'm able to raise up young men more than other people is because those are the ones I deal with. The other people I don't ignore, but I have other people deal with them.
I'm not that way. I will ignore you.
Oh well,
I'm just going to say it out loud because some people, they don't get the hint. I ignore what I know is fake. And when I see
right.
template, one of the things that really get me, we are very clear about being a forever house. We don't mince words, and we don't care if you join or don't join. Sit through the service. Feel free. It's when you tell me you're going to join. It's when you tell me you're going to be a faithful member. It's when you soup me up, as we used to say back in the day.
Covenant breaker.
When you're souping me up. Remember when you used to say that back in the day? You souping up my mind. You're making me believe one thing while you're playing a game over here. Those are the people that I watch and clock.
Wicked behavior.
I can't stand it. I don't mind that if somebody says to me, hey, I need to refuel. I need to gas up here. I'm like, good. Pull it in, man. We'll refuel you. We'll lay hands on you. We'll pray for you. We'll love on you. Let us know if we can be any service to you in the future. No problem. Why would that not? I mean, that's totally fine. It's totally acceptable. But why pretend as if it's somehow going to give you more favor or something that you're going to be something you're not? So again, it goes to your point about having the integrity to speak the truth and to say what you mean and mean what you say. Doesn't mean circumstances might not change. So add the disclaimer, Yahuwah willing.
As a general rule, when they break covenant, when they're not forever people, I don't allow them back. There are circumstances that I will, when they're in teshuvah, they're sincere. Again, but you need discernment for that. You need maturity for that. As a general rule, once you leave the house, you can't come back. But again, I'm not Yahuwah, and I have to stay open to real repentance because Yahuwah received us with real repentance. So that, you need a lot of discernment and maturity. But as a general rule, if you deceive the house, like you were saying, if you deceive the house, you ain't coming back. Go find yourself a church.
Well, yeah. It's hard to come back. And I have a different attitude about that myself. I'm more the father in the picture of the prodigal son, waiting by the gate, hoping they do turn around. Now, that walk back is a very difficult one, and you cannot help them. So you don't go to pig pens. What you do is you wait. And every once in a while, not often, but every once in a while, you get one that'll turn around and say, you were right, I was wrong, and I shouldn't have done what I did or whatever, and they repair it. So for their sake, I keep the light on.
Right.
But I don't sit out like the child in the window.
No chasing.
I used to sit like. I leave the light on, and it's on you to make your way home. But I've moved on now to those who, like you said, are the 80%,
80-20
that are value. And so if you want to join that group again, if you want it, you can. Same way you did the first time. It's going to require effort. So most people would rather start a new relationship than repair an old one. I'm going to say that again.
Very true.
Most people would like to rather start a new relationship than repair an old one. The reason why they are church hoppers and relationship hoppers is because they accumulate offenses and issues. When it accumulates to a point where they are it's disposable relationships, it's disposable life. And whenever it reaches a certain point, they just throw it all away. Like a kitchen they don't want to clean, so they just throw the dishes away. That's a lot of people live their life like this. So you have to be really careful when you get into relationships. Ask people what their opinion of forever is. What does loyal mean to you? What is the end? Where do you see this ending? You see what I mean? Get that real picture, because if you don't have that, if their mentality is forever means a couple of years, I was with them forever. You were with them for 2 years. I know. It's amazing how people will talk themselves into that they're good with this menial effort, these menial things, and expecting this high valuation of poor effort. So relationships require fixed points. They require authenticity and movement within them. This is the reason why you cannot program emotion. Every company that has tried to program emotion, you listening out there, you guys, some of you techs, you listening? Yeah, you want to hear me? You want to hear some of my secrets? You can't program emotion. I already patented the answer, so I can tell you this. You can't program emotion. Nice try, though. And you can't do it in human beings either. That's why you can't do it in LLM, because they're learned from humans. So emotion is a product. It is not something you can program. And when people try to perform an emotion, they're doing essentially the same thing. Now, emotion is a natural eruption. It is a calculation between fixed points. Fixed means they ain't moving. And there's a lot of ministry we need on fixed points. A lot.
Yeah, those are deep things. So with relationships and marriage, in other words, if a woman or a man want to get married and they want to spend their rest of their life together, they have to be real. There can't be any performances. All the truth has to come out. Everything from the past, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then they have to see that if they can live with that truth, but you cannot, regardless of what your emotions are, you cannot have a healthy future or a healthy marriage if there's constant change. A relationship can only take so much change. And that's what I was referring to Reuben before. A lot of ladies, not just men, a lot of ladies have that Reuben quality. Do you realize it was the Reuben who was unstable like what? Like water, right? That disqualified him from being the Bahor. Because by legitimate covenant, he was the Bahor. But his lack of stability caused him to forfeit to be the head of the house. We're talking about house, since we're talking about house and remnant house and every other kind of house. All right? Reuben was the designated choice of Abba Yahuwah to lead the house. The house of Israel. But because he never learned that those who say yes should mean yes, those who say no should mean no, will separate you from the world so that you're able to function and yes, even rule in Yahuwah's house. That it may seem trite to you. Oh, I'll learn how to keep my promises. No, sweetie, it's bigger than that. If you want to be a prince or a Sarah means princess, you're going to have to be a yes-no person, which is almost impossible to find in the world today. Can I get a witness?
That's right.
It's almost impossible to find in the world today. That's what makes us different. Y'all keep talking about Kadosh. Kadosh begins and ends with let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Well, some of it is just a matter of maturity. So here's the thing.
Because otherwise, you're going to perform Kadosh, okay? If you don't get that principle down right away, like Apostle Peter is saying, you're going to be a performing Kadosh, okay?
Right.
Nobody can trust you. Nobody can rely on you.
Right. No one can trust you.
Your fiancé can't rely on you. Your husband can't rely on you. Your disciples can't rely on you.
There it is.
Your business associates can't rely on you, okay? You ain't going nowhere fast. You're taking a long walk off a short pier, sweetie, okay? You better allow Yahuwah to fix yourself and let your yes be yes, not for a day, 2 days, 3 days, till death do us part. When I put a ring on it, I don't give a holy hoot how many wives I take. It's till
forever is forever.
It's till death does us part, and I'm not letting you out of it, and you're not letting me out of it. No matter what feelings wave through at a particular time. It is still when I said till death do us part, I meant every single covenant that I engage in.
So 1 Peter 5, verse 10 tells us, but the Eloah Hayam of all grace, what called us unto his eternal kavod by Mashiach Yahusha, after that you have suffered a while. All right. So he says, after you suffer a while, what's the suffering? Well, you're going to get buffeted by the earth. Your folly is going to get knocked out. Your You're going to find out the harshness of reality. You're going to deal with the hard stone and the hard rock. You're going to deal with the reality that the earth will swallow your blood and not respond. That you can have pain and the earth is just going to be there. So you have to learn how it works and toughen up. So he perfects you. Then he establish. Establish means to make stable. Okay, so what did he say about Reuben? Unstable. What did Yahuwah want you? Stable. So there's a difference between stable and unstable. So first he perfects, matures you. Second, he establishes you. Third, then once he establishes you, he strengthens you in that establishing. So there's a process, there's a sequence if you watch it. And then finally, you are settled. This is what happens to a house when it sits in a spot long enough. The house settles into its spot. In the same way, you have to settle in where you belong. A tree planted by the river of water does not move. Selah. So
Selah.
One of the reasons why I believe there's so much damage done and so much hemorrhaging, even among the remnant, is the fact that you have transient thinking and temporary thinking attempting to wield and walk in that which is eternal.
Yep.
There is no temporary in it.
Right. And performance does not last forever. Every performance has a curtain close.
Yes, it does.
Every performance.
And that's when you find out how they really felt. And that's when you find out
why they were doing and why they were doing with you or through your ministry or through your availability what they were doing. So what is the remedy for Reuben? The remedy is Joseph. See, and what did Reuben and Joseph have in common? The show, right? So the Potiphar's wife wanted to use her sexuality to allure Joseph into a covenant, right? Same with Reuben, but he fell for it.
He did.
He defiled, but it takes two to defile.
He did.
Okay, so notice who replaced who. The forever replaced the temporary as the head of the house of Yahuwah. He's not going to have a temporary head his house. Not a temporary relationship. Not
it
a
was
temporary.
One thing to let.
That's why me and Peter. That's why me and Peter. Peter said I put up with him for 58 episodes. No, we are joined at the hip. All right, we're more than kissing cousins. We're married in the ministry. We have a ministry marriage. Okay, now I'm not his type and he's not my type, but heavenly speaking, we have a ministry marriage. Now today you got to
way to put that.
Now today you got to be careful how you say that because some pervert or weirdo is going to think rainbow. No, we're not talking about the world's rainbow. We're talking about two men who respect each other, and you know we may 99% of the time we see eye to eye, but if we don't, we're not temporary. No, we're not Reuben. We're Joseph. We want to be like Joseph. We don't want to be like Reuben. The only good thing about Reuben is the sandwich you can buy in New York with a pickle and deli mustard. That's the only thing Reuben is going to do in your life. That's the only thing Reuben has ever done for me is with rye bread, seeded rye, on a corned beef, half a pound corned beef with a Dr. Brown cherry soda.
In New York, this thing,
Dr. Brown cherry soda and deli mustard. That's as far as I'm going to go with any Reuben, because Reuben, you're a leaky vessel, and you ain't going to be my music minister. You ain't going to be my child minister. You ain't even going to get to shine my shoes, because eventually I'll see who you are, and your performance will come to an end.
That's it. Okay. That's the thing is that why does it end? So how
Reuben,
do you know
out with Reuben. Bye, Reuben.
It's temporary when the performance comes to an end. You see, when I can smell the end, if I smell it on somebody, which I do, I smell it on them right away. I stop right there. I don't have energy for you. Temporaries, no energy. The second I discern that you are faking it, that you're here temporarily, and then I will treat you accordingly. I will just treat you accordingly. You won't fool me.
That's a good word. Okay? Don't throw good money. Don't throw bad money after good money, as the world says. Once you realize,
as soon as I detect that you are temporary, this is what is offended.
That's great. That's
people
very important.
Through the years that were already leaving anyway, but they want to pretend that the reason why they left is because I stopped paying attention to them or whatever. That's not true. What it is that when they've made their decision that they don't want to continue or they're going to do what they're going to do, you just move on, and they'll use that as the excuse. But that's all it is, a cover story for their inability to keep the performance going.
But you
See,
hit on a
performance
key.
is
But you
high
hit on a key
expense.
thing. That's a key thing. A lot of people didn't hear it properly. Probably when you smell it on a person. I just had that to me recently. I had that happen to me recently. I was smelling that they were getting ready to leave the ministry or my life. Okay, and I smelled it, and it came to pass within 2 days. See again, you're asking a lot of people from people, Peter. The reason
No, you're
is,
not.
yeah, you are, because it takes a lot of discernment and maturity to smell that on somebody. Because
Well,
these
they're
guys,
not responsible for that. But
because
here's what you are.
these guys are good performers. But you'll agree with me when you hear my thought. The point is that they're good performers, and you need maturity and discernment. You can't do anything in the kingdom without maturity and discernment. So I know you agree with me, but
Yes, I do agree with that.
if you're void of discernment and you're void of maturity, then yeah, you could get faked out a lot easier than some believers.
Oh, yes,
And I'm
exactly.
like Peter. I'm like Peter. As soon as somebody tells, as soon as I see fake on them, and I see that it's over, I don't have the ability to resurrect Lazarus. Only Yahusha does, and I'm going to work with the 80% who their yes is yes, their no is no. Okay, they will, and when they give you the yes, and they're straight shooters. We like to say straight shooters, right? Let's add another element, which you always add. It will always be with respect and honor. They will
Yes.
give you an answer, even if you don't like the answer, but they'll never withdraw that respect or that honor. And those are honorable people. Those are honorable people. They won't resort to name calling on the way out the door or making videos about you and your wife. Oh, do you know he was a criminal 30 years ago? How dare you, you
Yeah.
spiritual pervert? How dare you pull things out of a man's closet? He's a new creation in the Messiah, and something that he or she did 30 years ago. You are despicable. The name of
Maybe
Yahusha does not,
2 years ago. It doesn't matter.
if Yahuwah pulled stuff out of your closet, okay,
Yeah.
you would be doing 80 years in the can, and he set you free. Okay, so don't be bringing up people's past. Deal with, if somebody offends you, deal with the offense.
Yahuwah removed people
Don't
from
get
my life
pejorative.
that I
Don't
didn't
get
even know.
pejorative on the way out the door. That says very little about your character. Don't get pejorative and with ad hominem attacks on the way out the door.
Right. So I do agree with you. And Yahuwah removed people from my life that I didn't even know why he removed them until well after. Because I was lamenting them, like, oh my goodness, I love that person. And Father is so protective, especially of me. I feel his protection a lot, and he will remove people from my life. And then I will wonder where they went. And that's when I get the explanation. So I don't often know until after the fact, but I have seen the pattern enough to where I can see it coming. And once I see someone is already, so basically what Moshe is saying to all of you, and what we're all saying is, we're very good at giving you the benefit of the doubt until there isn't any. When we reach the point where we have no more doubts, we're so rarely wrong at that point that, I mean, there's the occasional exception, but most of the time, once we hit that point, we realize, okay, you're gone. You're not coming back.
And when was Reuben restored to the head of the father's house? Never. So
Never.
this wishy-washy covenant breaking, not sticking to the yes. Look, to me, there are three great commandments. Okay. To me, there is love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And number two, love your neighbor as yourself. And number three, learn and ask Yahuwah how for your yes to be yes and no to be no. I hate to disappoint people. I hate to offend people. I hate to hurt people. Oh, I like to hurt people, and I enjoy hurting people and wounding people that I think wounded me. So I'm going to break covenant with them. Whatever your motive is, to me, that's the third greatest commandment, because Yahusha said, "Let your yes be," and that applies to everything in order to establish a covenant and how one is to behave within a covenant. So to me, there are three great commandments: love Yahuwah with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself, and learn. Ask Yahuwah to make you so strong and secure in the faith that your yes is yes and your no. And even for us leaders, it ain't easy, isn't it? Because we don't.
No, it's not.
It's not easy.
So when we speak, and by the way, this is very important to clarify, because we all do it. We say things like, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. But how many know that it's contingent upon money, time, resources, people, supplies? All kinds of things are contingent. We don't usually mention that because we're talking to grown-ups. But the reality is things interfere. Economics interfere, especially now. A lot of battles going on that people aren't talking about. So we have to be more gracious. This is my point, is being more gracious. This way, we have this, I want all this grace this way, and we have this religious sort of exactness that we apply on this level. But this wars against our relationship with Yahuwah because he judges us the way we judge others. He said, the measure you measure will be measured back to you again. So if your measurement is different for them than the one that you want for yourself, there's an imbalance here. We need to be much more gracious. We need to stop holding people, quote unquote, accountable as if they have the ability out of this vessel to speak 100% predictive truth. It's not possible. There's too many variables in any 24-hour period, much less once you add a third or fourth person, the number of variables are ridiculous. So we need to be much more wise and say, Yahuwah willing. And we need to be careful about making a commitment that sounds like it is absolute. That's a biggie. Because if you say things in a certain way, I'm going to do everything in my power, Yahuwah willing, I will arrive on time. That sets the right expectation. That way, if you are a little bit late, that person knows that you were doing everything you possibly could to get there on time. That's integrity. I don't care what anybody says. No Swiss guy, no German who made a clock is going to tell me he's defining integrity by some mechanism that moves and hits a certain time. No, life doesn't work that way. And so we try to hit times. We try to hit targets. Sometimes life interferes. Some people have bad habits. It's real. You don't throw babies away with their bathwater.
So, but in relationships, there has to be a basis of yes and no. In other words, like you said, there are variables. There are variables, and we should be gracious in those variables. Yes. But foundationally, we cannot walk with people. We cannot entertain a spouse or seek a spouse if we don't have the commitment before the actual marriage or before the actual what. There has to be a commitment. But yes, we have to be gracious when certain variables kick in. Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I said there's maturity and discernment needed here, and even needed in the fivefold. We're not exempt.
In the different formats of relationships and marriages.
I mean, look at the discernment. Look at this monogamy only church with the Spanish guy. Okay, he's got these poor people convinced, right, that the ladies have to come up in front of everybody to kiss him on the lips. You saw that? To kiss him on the lips, and once they kiss him on the lips, they have the anointing. And then and then he invites them into private quarters after they receive the kiss on the lips. This is a monogamy only, serial monogamy, fleshly, carnal, and there's no veracity in that. We see that for what it is. It's a performance, and it's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. So
it's funny how many people fall for it.
Yeah, and here's what we're saying. Well, because their flesh needs it, or their emotions need it. So generally speaking, and I'm saying this to people who are thinking about marrying or making a commitment in a relationship, do not go to the next stage, driving, arriving, unless you have a commitment. There has to be a commitment right up front. The commitment, don't wait till the commitment comes or may come or could come or no. Right? It reminds me of the of the individual that's talking to 5 or 6 prospects for marriage. But the Lord is showing them that it's one. This is the person I need to marry, the Lord, right? But in the meantime, they're talking to 6 prospects. Hello. But what Lord is telling you what?
Well,
Where's the
again,
commitment? Where's the commitment?
you
Where's the
isolate
yes?
people-
Where's the no? Where's the yes? Where's the no?
anytime you
Where's the
boil
commitment?
these things down, you get the same thing. You get the same thing. You get the same Americanism, same pagan Americanism, which essentially comes from Asherah worship, which prepositions a woman to be worshipped, by the way, just so you know. So there's a reason for all of these things. All of these things have ancient roots. And that's one of the things that I feel bad for the West, because they're incredibly ignorant of the things that they actually walk out. Incredible how they walk into witchcraft and walk into things they don't know anything about. Santeria is a great example of that. And so, one of the things that I believe people have to do in this hour is meditate, learn how to slow down and come to good conclusion, one you can live with.
Stick to it.
When you make a decision and you make a choice, that has to matter to you. If it doesn't, if you believe in the do-over, then every decision you make will be very flimsy. But if you believe, nope, I get one effort, and this is something that is a rebuke to all you Monday morning quarterbacks who all want to criticize those who are in leadership or those who are doing anything in the kingdom. It's very easy to sit there after the fact and say, well, I would have done this and I would have done that. But in real time, when you're making decisions, real time, you do not have the Monday morning quarterback easy chair to use as your evaluation point. Okay. So when you go into the throes of the battle, it's real easy to make fun of the guy standing at the plate until you're standing at the plate. And you're the one knocking the dirt off your shoes, and you're feeling the anxiety as you're standing in that pocket. So one of the things I'd encourage everybody to do is right now, rededicate your life, rededicate yourself to meditation, to Psalm 1. Meditate on his word day and night.
Amen. Oh, by the way, you know what the Hebrew word for meditate is? You're not going to believe this. It's a form of yoga. Isn't that crazy? Now, I'm not promoting yoga. I'm just saying the Hebrew word is Haggah. I'm gonna put it up on the screen so you can see it. Yeah, let me show you. This is crazy.
All things of the kingdom of darkness.
But the devil's gonna take that and go, look. See,
well, of course it was. Where do you think he got it?
Look, hey, Gimel, hey. So the counterfeit is yoga, but it's actually Haggah. See, look at that. Haggah. Haggah sounds very similar to yoga, right? So this is exactly what you were talking about before. It's got to come close to be deceptive. So in the Hebrew, meditation on the Torah day and night is devotion and covenant and single eye, having a single eye, not an evil eye, and not have double vision and be double-minded like clouds without rain and tossed like waves. No, Haggah means completely consumed. The zeal of Yahuwah is to consume your life, right?
That's right.
Here comes Satan, goes, I'll give you a Haggah. Bum, bum, bum. See,
that's right.
But because you were talking about AI and fake, and you were talking about the Angel DX, if I'm saying it right, and the real versus the fake, and there it is. Even Satan took biblical yoga, and turned it into something completely opposed, mystical, esoteric, opposed to the ways of Yahuwah.
That's right. He did. And that's all he does. He doesn't invent anything. He just takes what's already there and twist it in the exact same way that
he poisons the counterfeit and then dispenses it. Listen, he poisons the counterfeit, which is close to the truth, and then dispenses it.
That's right. And so how long has this been going on? I mean, anybody here shocked by?
No. Could we take a couple of questions, boss?
Absolutely.
Let's see if there's a few questions. If not, you guys type fast, all right? Because I know I don't have to go see if there are any questions. If not, type fast. We'll get to them.
Amen.
Okay, no questions. No questions. No questions. No questions. No questions. Well, Let's see.
I don't see any
Shalom is not a question, but shalom anyway. Good point. That's not a question. Shalom anyway to you too. Let me see. So I'll wait for a couple of questions to keep it up. If anybody, surely you have some questions. Surely you do in relationships, marriage, divorce. Surely you guys have some questions. So I'm gonna keep the chat open, and while we continue, go ahead, Apostle Peter. Go ahead.
One thing I want to encourage everybody out there, regardless of what your status is, if you're a single person, great. If you're a married person, wonderful. Whatever your status is, first of all, stop and rejoice. The light that's coming on in this hour is a wonderful moment. We have Yahuwah's breathing revival into our nation. We have so much to celebrate, so much to be excited about. When we began this journey and I began my ministry, we were looking at a very different America. Even just 2012 to now, as I look, the number of people now saying the name of Yahuwah, the number of people awakening to the name of Yahushua, getting in the water, the number of fellowships, the number of ministries that are out there now that weren't there. They just weren't there. 2012, there were none of you. Okay. So to see this just absolute fire going across the nations is so encouraging to my heart. And I just want to thank all of you who will continue to pray and press and support and stand together. Your labor of love has paid off. It has paid off. And I don't know what the rewards will be. I know they'll be great. I just know that those that are being found faithful, you are touching the King's heart, because you are pushing back against what looked like an impossible size shift. It looked impossible, guys. When I went to Jerusalem in 2015, I got to tell you, it looked impossible. And yet he said to me, nothing is impossible than to believe. And so what I'm seeing today is the impossible made possible. What I'm seeing now in America, with the number of people that are now saying the name, that are calling forth in his name, I got to say, Remnant, you're amazing. Keep going. You're amazing. And I love every one of you. And I'm so proud of you.
Even people that are seeing biblical marriage, that are no longer fighting it. I have women left and right. When I started teaching on biblical marriage versus traditional marriage, Judeo-Christian traditional marriage, not the same thing, sweetheart. And I look back 20 years ago, the Ruach has made huge indentations in this area, where you have women who are seeing it and men who are seeing it, and they go, yeah, we got more choices and more freedom. Just like James says, when you look into the perfect law of liberty, which is the Torah. So now a woman has more choices, especially a Torah-keeping man that's born again. Very hard to find a Torah-keeping man that's born again. They can be found, but they're very hard to find. So now when we look into the perfect Torah of liberty, like Exodus 21:10, if a man takes another wife, no problem, no sin, no judgment, but he shall not diminish the clothing, the raiment, and the conjugal rights.
By the way, can I just tell you guys all something really quickly, and something you need to hear? And it goes right with what brother just said. He just quoted the Torah. You do not have regulation for that which is illegal. One more time. There's no point for Yahuwah to regulate behavior that's illegal. He would have simply just said, it's illegal. Instead, he says, no, here's how you do it. Okay? Here's the procedure. Here are the rules. If he outlines rules for something,
it needs to be regulated.
Okay. You can say what you want. You can do emancipation proclamations. You can be anti this and anti that. But slavery is still in the earth today. There are more people enslaved today than ever in the history of earth.
Correct. That's a good point.
Okay. So even though you're evolved mentally and you've evolved, it doesn't change the fact that reality is reality. Okay.
That's a good point. Just because you don't see the change, doesn't mean the populace is not in change.
And let's test this notion of freedom. What you really have is liberty. Liberty and freedom are two different things. freedom would be bad. And freedom in the sense that the devil wants it is destructive. See, he wants no order, nothing. But there is no place you will ever go there won't be some order. There's always going to be order. In fact, any lack of order is chaos. Who wants to live in chaos? Nobody, not anybody in the kingdom. So order is part of our life. And for you to think that there'll ever be a place where you will not have an obligation, well, that means the abyss or hell. Would you like to go there? Because that's the only place you can live with no obligation, debt free, because love will always oblige you. Always.
Yeah.
So
100%.
there's no such thing in the kingdom as debt free, obligation free, disconnected. Those are all abyss statements. Those are all wishing for hell. Just so we're clear.
Yeah, we don't have any questions, but I want to throw something at you before we go. So if there's a question that comes up, we'll put you to the top of the list. Super chat.
Super chat, yeah.
We'll a big gulp you. Remember those days? Big gulp.
Oh my goodness.
No, I think they're still around.
I'm sure.
You remember the days when we were able to handle a big gulp? Because I think big gulp is still around.
I never could drink those ever.
You were never able to handle it. Look at that. Look at you.
Nope, could never do it.
Now,
I was like,
what are you going to tell me next? What are you going to tell me next? You weren't able to handle White Castle hamburgers either? Is that what?
Oh, dude, White Castle's my nemesis, man. Murder burgers is what we call them. Murder burgers, dude. You want to know what I did?
I wouldn't let you lie to the Ruach. I wouldn't.
Dude, no way. I would never.
I'd get you on those White Castle burgers.
2 years ago during Sukkot, I bought the imprint things. We made the patties frozen so we can make White Castle burgers. I'm not kidding, man. I am not joking you, man. And they were bomb.
You went
or sliders are bomb. I love those.
You made them or you went to White Castle. Which one?
No, we will not eat their beef. Okay, we won't eat their meat product. So we go to a butcher. It's just our normal procedure for years. We've been doing this. We go to a butcher. We have beef that we buy from the butcher. He butchered the cow. We know it's from the cow. Now we take that. We grind it. We've been doing this since even before Israel. We grind it. That's our hamburger meat. So we eat steak burgers, basically, is what we have.
But you used to go to White Castle.
Yeah, when I was a kid. I didn't know any better.
Are you telling me you're not a big kid anymore? You just
no, man. I don't go through those drives. I don't even know when's the last time I had fast food.
Did I ever tell you just to end on a light note, because I think I need a light note today. Okay. Did I ever tell you the White Castle story with the taxi?
No.
Just briefly. Would you allow me? Just briefly. So I used to be a pothead. I mean, a serious pothead, right? And this was in the early 80s. And so I was paranoid and hearing voices, radios. Some people can handle cannabis. Yahweh bless you. I'm not one of them, right?
Right.
I'm not one of them. I'll be honest with you. So I used to call Chinese restaurants at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, because I didn't want to go out. I thought I would get killed. So anyway, I live in an apartment building on the second floor. I was alone. I was single in the studio. Very tiny, about the size of a room, small room. And one time, after I had engaged in some marijuana cigarettes, I got on the phone. I called a cab, and I asked them if they would go to White Castle. And they go, "Well, sure. Well, if you pay for the taxi." Well, I said, "No, I don't want you to take me there. I want the taxi to go to White Castle, get the burgers, and bring them to me, because I'm paranoid and like hearing voices, right?" And, right now, watch this. So they send a taxi to White Castle at 3 a.m. He said, when we get there, how many do you want? I said, about 40 or 50. The guy comes back, the taxi driver comes back, he hands me the 40 hamburgers. I give him a $30 tip. So the whole thing cost me like $100. This is back in those days, right? By the time I got all the burgers, listen, they were ice cold, but I had the munchies so much that I ate all 40 hamburgers. Okay, now what does this have to do with anything? Nothing. It's just a White Castle story.
That's a lot of burgers, bro. Then he's gonna get the mold out. We bought this mold where you can make the burger patties, man. You can do it. Oh, I love it.
Angela says, "I love White Castle." Yes, that's smart sister. Let's see what else we got. And David says, White Castle used to be real hamburgers, not anymore. You mean? David says, yeah, they used to be real. Let's see. Rivka says, Rivka. Oh, she's gonna.
If a woman agrees to
This
a
woman.
marriage
Wait a
covenant-
second. This wife is gonna cause us to end on a serious note when I want it to end on a White Castle note.
Well, this might not be
That's
too
a
bad.
good
Go
wife.
ahead.
That's a good wife. She wants to
Like,
bring me
summarize.
back to reality. Look at that. She wants to bring me back to reality. Okay.
I love Rivka.
Let's
Rivka's
say
awesome.
we're Rivki. You don't want to mess with Rivki. Trust me.
I already knew. I picked up that day one.
Not even
Don't
for a
mess with
week.
Rivka.
Not even for a weekend in St. Thomas. You know,
Don't mess with Rivka.
not even on a cruise.
Oh, both through. I don't mess with any of your wives. I don't mess with nobody. Leave
All right,
nobody
listen. If a woman agrees to, she's going to bring us back to seriousness. If a woman agrees to a marriage covenant, but she's really letting her yes mean no, and her no
Yes.
mean yes.
What does one do with that?
Oh, Rifki, you had to. That's a toughie. So if a woman agrees to a marriage covenant, and at the same time, while she agrees, her yes is no and her no is yes.
Well, you got to have enough discernment to let them out of this. So let's say somebody says to me, "Here's a good one. This is a good question."
That's an excellent question. This one's an excellent question.
Yeah. So let's say a woman says to me, "Oh my goodness, Peter, I'm in so much trouble. My family, can I marry you?" I'll be like, hold on a minute. What's the problem? And they tell me the problem. I said, why don't we solve the problem? You do that for me? Yeah, why don't we just solve the problem? Because that's not a basis upon which you get into a covenant relationship. So why don't we just solve the problem? Now, that's a wise man. Why? Because he's going to eliminate all other options, possibilities. Why in the world would you want anybody in a desperate situation? Is that desperate situation going to be perpetual? Because the covenant will be. I said the covenant will be. Therefore, the reason must be. And the reason, a temporary situation, a temporary problem, or a guilt, a remorse, terrible reasons to make a covenant relationship decision. Nope. Everybody shut up. Here's my advice. Everybody shut up, go to your corners, pray, meditate, come back and tell me what you got with him that you own, that belongs to you, that nobody has to talk you into because you got it in your private time with him. And this is how you move forward. If you move forward with conversation or agreements and all of that, you're substituting the meditation process. It will fail. Go have them meditate. Take as much time as you want. Do not come back until you have an answer. And the one that you don't need me to support or make happen.
Unless a woman claims that she makes an agreement to get married, let's say, like
Right.
Rivka says, but then she claims that the Ruach told her not to. But the problem with, let's say a particular woman is she's not mature enough to know when the Ruach is speaking to her or not. So
Doesn't matter.
Everybody has to move on, right? I mean, everybody has to move on before there's more problems.
It's not a matter of whether you were spoken to or whether you believe you're spoken to, the same net result. The fact is you believe this. This is critical because this is what holds you in place when there's trouble, when there's difficulty, when there's a problem. You don't want nobody wants someone on their boat who's not really on their boat, who's still evaluating. You want to evaluate from the shore, honey. Okay? Once you get on this boat, there ain't no evaluating. There is all in. This is John 6:66.
How would you answer Rivka's?
Many would not walk with him. They turned back because they got offended. John chapter 6. Go ahead, brother.
How would you answer Rivka's specific question where there's a specific case where there is a covenant
Out of guilt. Right.
A verbal covenant made, and it turns out the yes wasn't a yes.
Well, you don't have agreement. So you don't have a covenant if you don't have agreement. And it sounds pretty wishy-washy, right? So let's say somebody's saying that and they're like, well, I'm not really sure. First of all, do you really want to be in a covenant with somebody that's not sure? I don't. So I have a very high standard there. Very high. I don't mind being your friend, though. Do you need a friend? Need somebody to help you with something? You need
We're
somebody-
answering your question, Rifki.
Okay.
We're answering your question. She
But
wanted to
it-
make sure Rivka wanted to make sure her question was being answered. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact is that if she's really saying no, we are now seeing a character flaw. That is a massive, massive problem.
It'll turn up again. It'll turn up again.
Because you can't be the very basis upon which the covenant is made is the credibility of the covenant participants. So if they're lying or you don't believe their credibility, how are you entering into an agreement of any kind?
Good
Even
answer.
Agreement, much
Yep.
less marriage.
Good answer. Excellent. Excellent answer.
I mean,
Okay, guys, we're out of time. White Castle hamburgers and all. This has been an excellent broadcast. We love you guys. Don't forget, we'll see you, Yahoo willing, next week. We come to you live every week. Please share the broadcast with others who need these pearls of great price. Shalom.
For those of
shalom.
us that missed us yesterday, we didn't have our brother David is traveling in Minnesota, so pray for him. Tried to get him on there. Was hoping we'd still pull off a roving report, but he just had too much going on. So we
Well,
let
pray
him
that-
have that day.
Pray that if you want something to pray about, pray that ICE leaves David alone. Where is he again? Minnesota?
Minnesota, yeah.
So well, just
Yeah.
pray that ICE leaves him alone.
Oh my.
All right, everybody. Shalom.